Today's episode of The Profit Express is brought to you by Corbett Public Relations, promoting and protecting businesses and brands for over 30 years. Please visit them at corbettpr.com. That's CORBETTPR.com. Well, hello and welcome to the Profit Express. I am Tim Healy, and I'm inviting you to join me so together we can win the battle for business each and every day. Now, in a COVID economy, the mission of the show, winning the battle for business, has taken on new meaning, because I know that we're all being pushed and challenged in so many different ways. Unfortunately, some businesses have had to close their doors, perhaps forever. There's also opportunity for some. There's been a lot of great new products and services that have come as a result of COVID. But at the end of the day, being successful in business just got tougher. So that's why I'm really excited for today's guest. I've had him on the show before, and he is a special guest. His message is particularly relevant right now. And he is former Navy SEAL. He retired from Navy SEAL Team 6. He is a New York Times bestselling author. He is an adventure athlete. He was twice captured by enemy forces, and he's here to tell the story, of course, thankfully. And so much of his experience as a SEAL and as an ultra-endurance athlete, an adventure athlete, is absolutely going to be able to resonate with you. Because no matter where you are on your journey in creating business success, I know that today's guest is going to be able to deliver for you. And he is none other than Don Mann. So, Don, it is a pleasure to have you on board the show today. How are you?
Good, Tim. It's good to be on the show with you again. It's good to see you.
Well, you're certainly somebody whose message absolutely resonates now. I'm a big fan. You know, you and I have had the fortune of knowing each other for a number of years. I've had you on the show before. Also a big fan of your books. You're quite the accomplished author. What's the actual number of books that you've written to date?
Well, Tim, it's my English teacher would be rolling over in her grave if she ever thought I'd even read a book. But actually, I just went to number 20. I just did my 20th book. Thank you.
Your 20th. Well, I have to do a quick shout for what was my favorite one, Reaching Beyond Boundaries, if you can see that. Just a great book, one of the many great books of Don Mann. So again, thanks for being on board and sharing some time today, Don. Let me start off with a question that might be really tough for you to answer. You certainly a big part of your story and who you identify as being a Navy SEAL. I know you're a patriotic individual. If you look back at your career, is there one lesson that you could say had the biggest impact as to who you are as a person, having been a Navy SEAL?
Tim, thanks for asking me that question. I could draw from an experience or two that I've had, or I could even think of people who've had greater and more experiences that would even teach a person even more so. And I'm thinking now of a fellow SEAL who went into a building going after some terrorists. He had body armor on, but he was shot over 20 times. He was shot over 20 times, shot in the arms, the legs. He didn't get shot in the face or the neck. He got shot in the body armor about 9 or 10 times, and he kept doing the job. He went in there, he saved the women, he saved the children, the terrorists were all killed. And once his job was done, he walked out to the helicopter, it was a bloody mess, and he said, I need a medic, I need some help, I've been shot a lot of times. And to me, this person, Mike is his name, he didn't get confused on what his mission was. He didn't feel bad for himself, like this is too hard, this is too much on me. He didn't slow down, he didn't back off just because he was getting shot. He went on and finished the mission, came back, asked for help, because in his mind, he had what we call a combat mindset. In civilian terminology, it could be translated to, he had a powerful mindset. And his mindset was, I've got to get the job done. I'm not going to let anything stop me. I'll take care of these injuries once the job is done. And a guy like that brings me a great source of inner energy and power, because I know a person like that can get through that and come back and then go on and motivate and inspire others. And I think that lesson can be translated to the rest of us thinking, we're all facing a threat right now. It might not be an enemy in a building. It might not be terrorists. And we might not be going in that building trying to take out the terrorists. And I like how you said the battle, win the battle, because we can win battle after battle after battle by keeping ourselves safe, keeping our families safe, with the big picture of winning the war. Because the immunizations are going to come out. There's 3 of them now, or plus 3 now. They're going to come out. There's herd immunity happening. Everybody's taking this virus seriously, and we're going to beat it.
Sure.
As a people, we've beaten viruses before, and this is one battle after another battle that we have to win. When we go out to the grocery store, the battle is stay protected, stay away from people. We don't know if those are the only precautions we can take, but as of now, that's all we know. And I'm going to win this battle today, because I'm going to win the war when it's over.
Well, it's amazing. You tell the story of a former SEAL who goes in. He's on an operation. He shot in excess of 20 times, none too severe to stop him in his tracks. And from when I'm hearing of this, somebody who's certainly not a Navy SEAL, he had a mission. He knew the mission. He knew the plan of the mission so well. He was undeterred, did what he had to do. And then, essentially when mission accomplished, then he's like, oh, by the way, I've been shot up badly. I need help. And I think about that because so many of us create in business. We have, our mission statements, our business plans, our annual plans. We're coming up at the end of the year. A lot of people doing their plans for 2021. And so many of those plans a month in, 3 months in, get punched right in the face and they send us off course. And that's what I love about that story. I guess this is what I'm hearing from it. Are you guys that keenly trained and focused on the mission that you're that well prepared to deal with adversity?
Yes. And I could also say a lot of things that happen in the SEAL community, the special operations community, you can't talk about it. But there are some great lessons you learn as being a SEAL or being in the spec ops community that you can share with other people. And that is one of them. Never, ever, ever give up. The mission is up here. I'm goal-oriented. I'm going to win. I'm not going to let things get in my way. I've got what I like to call a macro goal or a big, big goal. Mm-hmm. I've got a lot of micro goals I'll have to achieve before I get to that macro goal, but I'm focused on the big goal, the mission, the objective, and not to let little things get in the way. And I think with this virus now, we're all facing the same enemy. Just don't lose sight of those macro goals. For me, for instance, I'm completely out of work, but I'm making the best of it. I'm working out more than ever, which I enjoy a great deal. And I'm just doing some work from home. We started a clothing company that's helping SEAL kids, and I'm putting on a large virtual race, the biggest virtual race in the world, because I can do it from right here on my computer. Just had to shift gears a little bit, and it's not going to stop me in my tracks. I don't think it should stop anybody in their tracks, because we're going to win. We're going to be successful. And then someday you're going to tell your kids, your grandkids, yep, that was a bad year. We lost a lot of money. We lost a lot of whatever, but we won. We didn't give up. We didn't give up, and we prevailed.
Well, listen, a lot of us have, COVID fatigue. We can't let our guard down, because even though 6 months seems like a long time, we know it'll be here before you know it. It's right around the corner. So as tough as it's been on certain businesses, and here you are, you do a lot of speaking around the country. You speak to corporations. So that's obviously gotten shut down on you. But then you pivot. And to talk a little bit about, I know you have a clothing line, and you also have a program to support a very worthy cause, SEAL Kids. Can you talk to us about that?
Sure, Tim. No, I'm a veteran, former SEAL, and my heart goes out to veterans and people. I was very fortunate. I'm fine. I didn't get killed or hurt badly. But there are a lot of SEALs who are killed in battle and killed in war, a lot of people in the military. But if you ask me who I'd want to support more than anybody, veterans would be up the top. But also at
Sure.
the top of that list would be children. And my heart just goes out for children, especially if they're born with a problem or if they've lost their father who died in war.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it just, all the stars lined up for me because SEAL Kids, Navy SEAL Kids Foundation, contacted me and asked me if I'd help promote SEAL Kids. I said, absolutely. So the two projects I was working on, the Neptune Athletic Clothing Company,
Hmm.
right now we're promoting SEAL Kids through that clothing company. And then I designed the largest adventure race, virtual race in the world, where every state has 10 events you sign up, and you have an event, perhaps climbing a mountain, paddling in the bay, hiking the Appalachian Trail. But every state has 10 events. You do it all on your Strava watch. You don't have to be at a starting line anywhere, and you have a whole year to do 10 events. That whole event is to support SEAL Kids. And the clothing is going to come through my clothing line, Neptune Athletics. So I just tied in everything together, molded it together for a good cause, which is SEAL Kids, which helps veterans and helps children. So for me, there's nothing more I'd rather be doing. And it's all for charity as well. So that makes me extremely happy to be able to give in that way. And we all have something we can do if we're out of work. And that was just my outlet on what I found.
That's those are obviously fantastic cause. Is there a particular website for the SEAL Kids for people to learn more about it, contribute, help out?
It is. It's sealkids.com and
Okay,
SEALKIDS.com.
beautiful,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And
The
these kids lost their fathers in war or, or in training. And it's just a foundation that's fairly new just to help these kids get college and funds for education, things like that.
Sure, absolutely. Now, the stories that you can share, I know you've probably shared them many, many times in books and in seminars on stage. But your stories are one that very few of my guests can actually share. So I guess selfishly, I'd like you to share a few of what are some of my favorites that are really awe-inspiring. One of them, if I have this right, when you were in the training, it's Bud's training, correct?
Right.
Okay. And there was one test that you almost failed, but you were given a second chance in a pool. And talk about digging deep when you were literally, because if you failed it on that second chance they had given you, you would have been out, right?
That's right. You
All
have
right,
a
take
great
us through
memory,
that.
by the way.
Well,
So,
great stories stick. That's the truth.
well, for 4 years prior to becoming a SEAL, everything I did in life had to do with going to that macro goal, and that was training to become as fit and as strong and as powerful and as fast and as smart as I possibly could be. So when I went to Bud's training, I was ready as possible,
Right.
anyways. And I trained harder than anybody I knew for 4 years. Then I get to Bud's, I'm in heaven basically because I'm where I wanted to be, and it
Right.
was hard. And I did a lot of visualization, so I visualized how hard every day would be, the push-ups and the pull-ups and the swimming and all that. And every day I'd go back to the barracks and thinking, my God, it was a hard day, but not as hard as I visualized. So the visualization helped me out a lot. But one day we had to go to the pool,
Right.
and we're standing at the edge of the pool, and they tie your hands behind your back, and they tie your feet, and you jump in the water, and they say, okay, tread water until we get tired. I was thinking, how are they going to get tired? So you're going up and down, and you're trying to get a breath of air, and you're going up and down. And we had one near drowning where I just saw a person laying there, and I was thinking, this is some hardcore training because he's dead, and we're still bobbing up and down. They revived him with a couple Navy divers. They came and resuscitated him. So we made that one, and that was really hard because I never trained to do that particular exercise. And we
Right.
lost a bunch of guys one training exercise. So then they said, okay, for those of you who survived this, and you start off with about 170 or so people, and then we graduated 22. So you lose a lot of people every day. They said, okay, if you guys just survive that, now what you have to do is do a forward flip in the air, go underwater, swim 25 meters underwater, do a flip turn, and come back. And whatever you do, don't give up. If you give up, it just means you're weak, you're worthless, and we don't want you around. So again, everything I've done for 4 years was to get ready to become a SEAL. And
Right.
whatever they told me to do, I was just going to do it.
Right.
I did my forward flip, went underwater, and a swimming underwater recovery stroke to get to the other edge. I was thinking, boy, this is hard because I never trained to do this.
Right.
I did my turn underwater and I was coming back and my head was hurting. It was really, really hurting. It felt like an ice pick going through my head. I was thinking, oh my God, I can make it. I can't make it. I can't make it. And I shot to the surface and I quit. And they said, get over there, quitter. They don't look at you when they say quitter, get over there. That's the worst word in the world to be called a quitter.
It's the walk of shame. Yeah.
And 8 people made it. The rest of us didn't make it. And the instructor said, you 8 might have a chance to become SEALs. These people over here, and I'll keep it clean like you asked me to, these people are pathetic. They're worthless. We don't want to waste our time with people like that. They all quit. They could have kept going.
Right.
They could have just got through it, but they didn't.
Right.
And I tell you, I felt that small, and everything I wanted in life went away. I gave up only because I was uncomfortable. And then they finally said to the guys who passed, they said, you want to give him another chance? And they said, yeah, we do. So I prayed and I said, no matter what, I'll never, ever, ever quit again. I did my forward flip, went underwater, did my flip turn, came back. And they also said, if you pass out underwater, we'll pull you up. Don't worry about it. Trust us. And so I did my forward flip. I was coming back. I was doing my underwater recovery stroke as best I could. And when I woke up, they were pulling me out of the water and I was frothing at the mouth. And I did pass out. I needed somebody tougher than me to push me, to show me I can do a lot more than I once thought I could do. And then a couple years later, we were doing a ship attack, hostage rescue, and my breathing apparatus froze up underwater. It was pitch black underwater for 4 hours, and I didn't have any air at all. And I went to try to surface. I felt the bottom of the ship. And if a ship is that big, you're only minuscule under there.
Right.
And my head was killing me. I couldn't breathe. Minutes had gone by. I couldn't breathe anything. I was looking forward to coming up and surfacing. I couldn't get to the side of the ship because there's a big obstruction there. So I just started kicking like they taught me in Buds. And I was thinking my body's getting deeper and deeper and deeper because it's getting colder. It was pitch black. And I was thinking, I can't quit kicking because I don't know how they'll ever find my body. Just keep kicking, don't give up, don't give up. And somehow I managed to swim to the front of the ship, came down, went up the ladder, did the ship takedown, perfect mission. And it was all about not quitting. So that mission, that lesson I learned in the pool saved my life years later under a ship. And those lessons will never leave me. I will always, always think how bad and how cold and how miserable and how there was nobody there to help me. And I was certain if I didn't keep going, I would die. And no matter how hard it was, those Buds instructors, those SEAL instructors, put it up here, never, ever, ever quit. And it saved that attitude, it saved my life more times than I can count. And so then, I think that's the attitude, one of those things that we do learn in the SEAL community that we can pass along to our friends and our relatives and people who want to listen to us, that you can do a lot and way more than you ever thought you might be able to, just because your mind is so powerful.
So they give you a second chance and they said, no matter what, even if you pass out underwater, we'll rescue you. So, I mean, just think of the human nature. It's like it's against every fiber of your being to want to pass out underwater. You have to let go. You have to have faith in your commanders and your team, etc., and allow yourself to get to that point. And because you did, And you said you did pass out on the second attempt, right? And they got you. And that one lesson that you learned through the training has gone throughout your life.
That's right. And you know, and that's on the small scale. I have a friend who actually killed bin Laden, and he's been on 70 missions where over 70 people were killed. So
Really?
imagine you go on one mission and over 70 people are killed, what you've seen and what you've experienced.
Right.
Now you go on
Right.
another one, you do that 70 times. You think you're going against insurmountable odds, but something up here is saying you're going to win and you're going to come out alive and okay. And no matter how bad it is out there, I'm going to win. And that's the SEAL mentality.
So you're also a big part of who you are, is an ultra athlete, an adventure athlete, an endurance athlete. And I think you were at the age of 50. Now, I just turned 50 this year. And when I heard your feat of what you did, I have to up my A game. Let's put it to you that way, Don. You had completed 2 Ironmans in one day. Now, give the numbers, because not most people have heard, they know how impressive an Ironman is, but they don't know all the numbers. There's a bike, a run, and a swim. Tell us what the total number of each category is and that you did it in one day at the age of 50.
Okay, well, an Ironman, at one point, when I first started doing the Ironman back in Hawaii, back when the event just started,
Right.
only 11 people did the first one and 12 did the second one. And then I heard about it through Sports Illustrated. I went out to Hawaii, and that year only 15 people had finished one. But then it was the world's biggest race. It was a big, big deal. It still is, but it was super big back then.
Right.
And it's a 2.4-mile rough water swim.
Right.
And then you get out and you do a bike ride, a 112-mile bike ride. And then you go off and do a marathon, 26.2-mile run. And beat the champion's time of 11 hours and 44 minutes. He won in 11 hours and 44 minutes, the first Ironman, Gordon Holland. So I was thinking, that's what my macro goal is, to finish the Ironman and to try to break the champion's goal, his winning time, which was kind of strange. I would think like that because I had no clue what I was doing, but I needed a goal, you know? And
it goes back.
Pardon me?
It goes back to that macro goal that you keep focusing on.
That's right. And that day I had 2 macro goals, to finish and to break the champion's time.
Right.
And I passed him on the bike ride, and I couldn't believe I was passing my hero. And I said, have a great race, champ. And I was so excited that I passed him. And on the run, so I had to pass, there were 274 people ahead of me, and I had passed about 200 by the time I got to him. And the helicopters were following him because he was a champion. And I passed him, and I couldn't believe I just passed the champion. And then we finished the bike ride. Now I got about 40 people left in front of me, and I wanted to win. I wanted to beat everybody. And I got my running shoes on, and now all I have left is a marathon, which a year before, a marathon was the biggest thing I ever did in my life. But now the next macro goal is an Ironman. And so now I'm in 40th place, and nobody had passed me yet, but one runner was coming up to my side. I looked to my right, and it was Gordon Holland trying to pass me back.
And he's the champion.
I couldn't run any faster. I was going as fast as I could. Our last 2 miles was sub 7-minute miles, which was fast for a marathon after doing the bike ride and the swim.
Of course.
He passed me right at the finish line, my champion, and he came up and he hugged me. He said, thanks so much for pushing me. And it's one of the best days of my life because my hero hugged me and thanked me for pushing him. But anyways, without knowing what I was doing, just by being focused on a vision and trying my best to break 11:44, I did it 11:41. And then I was thinking, okay, what's the next macro goal? I was a SEAL. I did a whole career in the Navy, doing tons of different events through the whole thing. But after I retired, I was thinking, well, if I could do 1 Ironman in a half a day, I should be able to do 2 in a full day. So I went out and it was a 4.8-mile swim, 224-mile bike ride, and then 2 marathons, 52.4 mile run. And everything was fine in the water. The bike ride was, I was getting tired. My legs were getting sore, 224 miles. And
Oh,
then the first marathon went by okay. I was going slow, and I had one marathon to go. And I remember all I have is a marathon left. That's it. A couple of years ago, a marathon was a big deal, but now it's just a small part of this race. But at mile 32, I started seeing white spots. I started dry heaving, and the bile started coming out, and I started getting lightheaded. And I passed out, and I didn't know how long I was out. And I was on the lawn, but when I woke up, bike riders were going by me and runners, and I thought, why am I sleeping outside? I thought I was asleep for some unknown reason. Then I realized, oh no, I'm in the double Ironman. I got to get up and finish this race. So I wiped the bile off my mouth and started running again and finished the race. And I'm really happy that I had that experience, because all the years before that had happened, and I might have been the oldest person in that race, but all the years before, when I thought something was too hard or too challenging, I felt bad for myself for whatever reason, and I would quit, I was wrong, because that Ironman showed me that if you really are too exhausted, it's too challenging, too physically hard, your body will do you the favor and you'll pass out and you'll get the sleep you need. Then you get up and finish and achieve that objective and that mission. So it was a good lesson. It was painful, but after it was all said and done, it taught me a lot through the rest of my years so far.
so you're actually, I mean, it's so incredible to hear this. 'Cause, I mean, listen, I'll speak for myself. To what extent do I mean, I push myself. I am a business owner. But hearing your stories, having read your book, I mean, there's just so much further that all of us can go. Everybody can go. I mean, if you just look at the general population, honestly, I think we're scratching the surface, and I'll put myself in that general population. And here you do, hey, if I did one Ironman in half a day, I can do two in a day, right? Of course, that's logical. And you're actually thankful for passing out because it gave you, it was like the body's mechanism for the much needed rest.
Right.
So now here's the question for you. How, again, the average person listening is not a Navy SEAL. They haven't had your experience. They haven't done, your races, your missions, etc. What do you tell somebody who is, a weekend warrior who maybe has been spending a lot more time on the couch, okay, especially with COVID? And if you own a business, if you're a professional and you're not doing anything for your body, that's going to impact the business and success. You know it and I know it. They're tied at the hip. So how can somebody, how does Don Mann encourage somebody to get going, to know how they can realistically push themselves?
Well, Tim, being a Navy SEAL, it's great and we all love it and all that, but there's so many other ways in this world to show that your strength and character can get you through a lot of problems in life. You don't have to be a SEAL. You don't have to go through all that. I mean, again, children, they get to me, but when I see a St. Jude's commercial, the poor little children in St. Jude's, when I
Sure.
see those little 4 and 5-year-olds have to go get another surgery for their cancer, another treatment, and they're smiling and they come out and they said, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to beat this. They have that same attitude without going through any SEAL training or anything like that. Somehow, some people develop it and some people just have it. But if you don't think you have it, it just means you haven't tapped into it yet, because we all do have that power and that energy where we could pull out a lot of great things from our inner self. And I love mountaineering. And Reinhold Messner, he's probably my biggest sports hero. And he's climbed
Yeah.
more mountains than anybody in the world, and climbed Everest without oxygen, the first person. And I went up to Everest a couple of years ago, and I was with Lydia Bradley, and she was the first woman to summit Everest without oxygen. And she got stuck in 3 avalanches in one day. In the last avalanche, she was buried alive. And her boyfriend saw her hand sticking out of the snow and ice, and he pulled it up, and she was barely alive. So I did Everest with her, and we had such a great time up there. And Andre Dorje Sherpa, the greatest Sherpa in the world, was on our team. He was in the Everest movie and Into Thin Air.
Yeah.
He was in the book, The Hero, because he saved more lives than anybody up there. And he's a great Sherpa. So they always warned us of high altitude pulmonary edema and cerebral edema. And it can come on anytime, and no matter how fit you are, no matter what your age is, no matter who you are, how many mountains you've climbed, you can get this.
Right.
And I was in heaven being the tallest mountain in the world. There was no place I would rather be. And we're climbing the ice fall, the aluminum ladders, and they're horizontal, they're vertical, and sometimes you look down the horizontal ladders and you're walking on aluminum ladders with aluminum crampons on, looking down into a crevasse that could be 2 miles deep. And every now and then those ladders collapse and people just disappear from the planet, basically. And there's 200 bodies up there that have died. And when you see green boots, you put a flag or a tarp over them and you take a right. And it's intense.
Sure.
And what my last intense episode I've had was a couple of years ago up on Everest. And when I was going up the ladder, it started getting dark. And then it started getting real dark. But really what happened, my memory was going away and my color vision was going away because I had the cerebral edema that just hit me out of nowhere. My brain was being compressed with fluid. Then I put my head down and fluids just started coming out, my nose and mouth. And I was getting pulmonary edema at the same time. And the most dangerous place on Everest is on those ice falls. And I couldn't see, I couldn't think. It got dark and I just was fluids pulling out of my lungs and I was coughing and choking. I finally got off of this aluminum ladder and I passed out again. And Andre Dorje Sherpa, the most famous Sherpa in the world, came up and he woke me up. He said, "Are you okay?" And I couldn't speak at that point. My lungs were 3/4 filled with fluid. So we got to get you down now. And he saved a lot of lives and a lot of lives have passed in his arms. And so I put my arms on his shoulders and he gave me his oxygen mask and I kept collapsing. We got to this 100-foot ice wall. He said, "Can you rappel?" I said, "Of course I rappel. I rappelled all my life." And he rappelled down. I got the rope and the harness. I'm thinking, I forget how to rappel. My memory was gone.
Wow.
So I took the rope and just wrapped it around my arm 4 or 5 times like I saw a Sherpa do. And it's just released in one loop at a time coming down the wall. And I was thinking, I hope I don't pass out during this or I'll die. And then I got back down to base camp and everybody thought I was a goner, and I survived it, of course, but I was that close to not making that one. It wasn't any fault of my own. It was Hape and Haste hit me.
Right.
And it gave me the thought that I have no regrets at all. I am so happy I went toward my macro goal. I didn't get there of summiting Everest, but I sure tried. And I gave it right to the point where I passed out. But who I felt worse for were the people above me who couldn't get back down, who passed, who died. But I was able to get back down. And now for the rest of my life, I'm not going to say, I wish I had tried something. I wish I had tried that mountain. I wish I had attempted something big like that. Because someday that macro goal or that vision or that objective that you have in view of something big you want to accomplish, someday the window's going to shut and you can't get there. So I just think everybody owes it to themselves. Go out. We all have a source of energy and power where we can be that little child who's beating cancer. We could be that SEAL who's been shot 27 times. But we have it in us to get by everything in our way and not lose vision of what we want to do in life and not to let this virus knock us down. It's just an inconvenience that's causing a lot of damage to a lot of people. Right. We're going to get through. We've gotten through these things before as people. We're going to get through it. We just have to be smart and we'll beat it. We'll beat one battle at a time, and then we'll be victorious in the war against this virus. Yeah.
And today's episode of the Profit Express is brought to you by Corbett Public Relations, promoting and protecting businesses and brands for over 30 years. Please visit them at corbettpr.com. That's CORBETTPR.com. Now, today on the Profit Express, as always, you're here to help you win the battle for business each and every day. And now that we're all operating in a COVID economy, that battle's become more difficult. Not impossible, but more difficult with more challenges. And that's why for today's guest, he is Don Mann, former Navy SEAL, New York Times best-selling author, ultra endurance athlete, adventure athlete. His experiences through life as the athlete, as the Navy SEAL, have always really resonated with me and connected with me as a business owner, as the Profit Express host. And I want to share Don's message today, especially as we are operating in a COVID economy. And listen, the vaccines are out. It's around the corner. It's been tough. We've lost lives. We've lost jobs and businesses, etc. But Don's message is one that can resonate with so many of us. And again, Don, I thank you for being on board today. So you yourself are a business owner. You know, you're out there. Earlier, you're talking about a cause, SEAL Kids, that you're a part of, and you've tied it into a clothing line. It's Neptune Clothing, correct?
It's Neptune Athletics.
I'm sorry, Neptune Athletics. Okay, Neptune Athletics, and I think it's so important to share that message again, is because all the military, obviously SEALs in particular, they're all sacrificing, and their families at home are sacrificing because of their sacrifice. And you're getting behind the cause for SEAL Kids. And I just want to make sure as many people know about it as possible. How can people, find out more, get behind it, support it? Share that website with us if you could.
Okay. What I have, I don't know if this will show, but so it's Neptune Athletics, and it's neptune-athletics.com.
Right.
And
great logo.
Links all over the site where you click here and your donation goes right to SEAL Kids. And SEAL Kids, there's no money transferred at all. It just goes from the person who clicks there, the money goes right to SEAL Kids. And the same thing with the 500 events I'm trying to put on as a virtual event. That's just going to go just a platform to support SEAL Kids. With the Neptune Athletics, we wanted to create some high-end sporting equipment clothing company where we can outfit almost any type of athlete. And we wanted to tie it in with a cause. And the cause is SEAL Kids. And we share the trident on Neptune Athletics. We share the same logo. And all it's for us to do is just to promote the word that these SEAL kids who've lost their fathers, lost their dads in war or in training for war, they need help. They need help to get to college and need some educational assistance and some other great programs the SEAL Kids are doing for these children.
Well, certainly a great cause, certainly a worthy cause. Thanks for sharing that, Don. As I said a little earlier, New York Times bestselling author, you've written, it's your 20th book now, right?
Yeah.
So 20. My personal favorite, I got to give it a, here it is, Reaching Beyond Boundaries. You and I talked about it last year on the show. And you had shared an experience, I should say a story of a mission where you were captured. And you got into what I felt was some great detail. It was a phenomenal story. And I'd love for you to go back to that story, to share that with the listeners. And the reason to me it's so important is, so many of us have business plans. We start out the year with business plans where, again, we're wrapping up 2020, which a lot of us are very happy to see 2020 go, and looking forward to what's ahead with 2021. But again, for businesses in particular, there are goals, there are plans, there are business plans that we put together. And so often in life, as in business, those plans can get sidelined. They can get turned on end. If you would, I'd love for you to share that story of that mission that had gone awry where you and a few of your colleagues were captured.
Alrighty, Tim. And yeah, I think that it's a good analogy there for business, because you have a plan, you have a business plan, you know where you're going. And like war, when the first shot's fired, sometimes everything just goes to pieces. Yeah. So all we were going to do, we were just going to go down to a war zone and get some photos, get some intel of what was going on at the shipyard and at the airfield. There were just 4 of us there, and it was a very sensitive mission. And we started out in Egypt with our Egyptian commando counterparts. And we had to do what they had to do. They had to do what we had to do in preparation. And we don't want to lose face. So they'll take these bricks and smash them over the head. And we'll say, okay, we'll do that. We're doing that. But anyways, they took these snakes and beat them against the boot, peel the skin back, and we eat the meat inside. And if it's a venomous snake, they'd take the venom sacs out and eat the meat. So we'd do the same thing with the snakes. We'd kill them on our boot, peel the skin back, take the venom sacs out and eat it. And we did the same with frogs. So needless to say, we all got really sick right before the mission. And there were 4 of us.
Oh.
And we flew down to this country. I'd like to keep, without saying it.
Sure.
And we flew in, we had food poisoning. So the first thing going against us was the food poisoning. It was a night parachute jump where you drop out a rubber boat, we call it a rubber ducky, then you skydive after it, and you land in the water. The intel people said, whatever you do, don't go in that water because it's infested with sharks. The Arabs, they kill all these camels and they cut the intestines out, and they're all in the water where you'll be jumping in. So now we're sick and we're jumping in shark-infested waters at night. And nobody complained. We all just did it, just wanting to get in that boat as quickly as we could. We got in the boat, we're sick. We got away from any sharks. We didn't see any sharks, but we knew they were there. And we took the boat to about 500 meters away from the enemy beach. And we're just looking for any enemy activity, and there wasn't any. So then we come up to 100 meters of the beach. There wasn't any. So me and my other buddy, we swam to the beach, scared to death of the sharks, but we swam to the beach, got out of the water. We had to find a place where we could hide for 3 days. And it was a finger of land surrounded by water on 3 sides. So there wasn't a lot of place to hide. It was only a couple 100 meters wide. But we needed to see the airport and we needed to see the shipyard. So we decided we could dig a hole and we could bury ourselves with a camouflage blanket, and we could take pictures, we could take notes, and we're out of sight. We'll hide in that hole because it was just desert. So we called the boat over. The 4 of us dug a hole, put the boat and everything we didn't need in that one hole, and we buried it with sand. Then the other hole we dug, we had our rucksacks and our weapons, and we had goggles on. And the 4 of us went in that hole, and we took camouflage blanket and put it over our heads. So we're in a hole with a desert camouflage netting over our heads with our weapons. And for 3 days we were there. But the problem was we all had food poisoning, and so we were throwing up quite a bit and had diarrhea, and we couldn't get out of the hole to do that. And then another problem was at high tide, the hole filled with water. So we're up to our necks in sewage for the 3 days.
Oh my God.
And we had the camouflage netting over our heads, so we're sick, we're in our sewage, and we're still doing the job. Nobody's complaining, still doing the job. And on the 3rd day, one of the guys from the enemy village comes walking by, and we woke each other up, and we're alert, we have our weapons up. We had goggles on, but our noses and our ears were filled with sand from all the sandstorms. This guy was walking by, and he had all this stuff blowing in the wind, his clothes and his scarves and everything. And he got closer and closer and closer. And as he saw the camouflage netting over our heads, he got his eyes bigger and bigger and bigger. Then he saw there were 4 guys there with long hair and beards and goggles holding weapons up. And he put his hands up and he backed off. Rules of engagement, you can't do anything. He wasn't a threat, so-called threat. He still went back and he got reinforcements, which we knew he was going to do. But the rules of engagement, you have to let them go if they're not shooting at you. So he went back, and that night he did get 14 people coming after us before we could get out, before we can get the boat out of there. And they captured us. And they held us at gunpoint overnight. And they were yelling at us. One guy spoke broken English, down, get on your backs. Get on your stomach so we can shoot you in your back. We said, no, we're not doing that. We're going back in this boat back to America. They couldn't understand us, and we really couldn't understand them. So they sent a villager or someone back to the village to get someone who can interpret a little bit for us. They held us at gunpoint overnight. And the villager came back. He said, yes, you trespass, we'll shoot you in the backs, lay down. We said, no, we're not going to do that. We're getting back in these boats. We're just here for training. We told them, just get out of here. We're going to leave. And a long story short, they let us go. And we're sick as can be. We had everything in the world going against us, but we all believed we were going to get out of that alive. And we all believed we're going to continue on the mission. And we did. We went back the next night, finished the mission. We won and they lost. And not one of the four of us, nobody complained that this is too hard, this is too difficult, I don't like this, I should have been a pilot, I should have been something else. Everybody was just happy to be there. And we all knew we were going to succeed. There wasn't, I can speak for myself, and I know everybody thought the same. There wasn't a doubt in my mind that we were going to be killed or not make it.
So you have a mission where basically out of the gate, because you were, engaging in the customs of your counterparts in the country, you ate snakes, frogs, you get food poisoning. I mean, so many people would have said, okay, yeah, I'm out. I'm not, in civilian life, yeah, I'm not doing this. So then being caught in your own sewage on the shoreline and then being captured. And as I'm hearing a fascinating story, for me and the Profit Express and the listeners, the startups, the business owners, the sales professionals, who again, we're looking to win that battle for business each and every day. As we're going through this, for me, what resonated was the fact that you or your other colleagues, okay, nobody's mind went soft. Nobody's mind quit. It's like, because thoughts are things. I'm a big believer in that. And I'm sure you are too. There's powerful energy in our thoughts. And it's as if, again, through the training, you guys did not allow that to happen. Because, I mean, if you had, how can that derail operations if you start to get some dissent, some negativity, and some doubt?
Yeah, I mean, once you get that I can't do it attitude, you're going to be correct. You won't do it.
Right.
But we have what we call a can-do attitude. We can do anything we put our mind to doing, and we'll get it done. And I like to tell people a SEAL, and not just using SEALs, but I use them as an example, but this could be said to a lot of people. But a SEAL has the best weaponry in the world, the best communications, best parachute gear in the world, best comms in the world. Everything is the best and the best. But what makes that SEAL so powerful and so effective is just his mindset. You could basically, what we call, put him in UDT shorts and give him a K-bar, a knife, send him off, and he'll go win the war. In his mind, he will. And that's just the mentality. That's the one thing all SEALs have in common, is that mentality.
Clearly, the most important tool, despite the world's best equipment, is that mindset.
Absolutely. The powerful mindset, the can-do attitude. And there's thousands of stories that could reflect this attitude. But it doesn't happen with just SEALs, of course, either. It can happen in sports and happen mountaineering all the time.
Sure.
But it's we all have it. We all have that ability. We just have to reach down deeper and we can get it, because we all have the capacity and the ability to push through anything on our way. And your mind, as an athlete, you can get stronger every day. As an athlete, you can be fitter and faster every day. But at some point, you're going to plateau. And then when you start getting older, it's going to go downhill a little bit. But your mind, each and every day, you can make it stronger. And that never has to stop. And I love to, when I found out when my balance went, that my mind was stronger than my body, I started realizing I did a lot of things that hurt my body because my mind was saying, keep going, keep going, keep going. So I used to think, well, if I don't push myself hard enough where I hallucinate, black out, or pass out, or bleed, if I didn't bleed, pass out, black out, or hallucinate, I wasn't pushing myself hard enough.
Right.
And I believed that for a good 20 years. And I would push myself to that point, and I pushed other people to that point. And then I realized that's not the smartest way to go. Because
Right.
I know we have a line, an imaginary line, and I believe most people operate way down below that line where if you go over it, it's pushing too hard.
Right.
And I believed that if I didn't go over that line, I was leaving something on the table. I didn't give it my all. I have to give it my all. I believed, and I learned this getting out of the SEAL teams, that most people don't try that hard at a lot of things. They operate way down here and not even close to their full potential. So instead of going over the line and bleeding, hallucinating, or blacking out, now I believe just go up, learn where that line is, touch it, back off, and come back up again. Touch it, back off. Achieve the mission, then back off, get a break. Achieve the next mission, back off and get a break. But don't go over it, because if you go over it as an athlete, you get hurt physically.
Sure.
If you're in banking, if too much work, family's going to start breaking down. If you give too much in some arena, some area, and you go over the line, other things will start breaking down. So instead of letting anything else break down, as an athlete, meaning your body, just go to the line, back off, and I think there's a lot more longevity to whatever you do with that mentality.
Well, I think that's a huge lesson, Don, in the fact that, because so many of us, again, way below the line, but getting comfortable knowing and identifying what that line is. And like I said, just pushing at it, not blowing through it and then, injured or worse, but getting comfortable identifying that and pushing to that point. And listen, the one thing, there's always silver linings, even in disaster. And now we're in the middle of a pandemic and COVID. For me, I've lost about 8 or 9 pounds. And I've been running, I'm not in your league, Don, but for me, I've added to my miles. The distance has increased. My time per mile has gone down almost by a minute. That's pretty good.
Wow.
That's pretty good. And see, and that's just it, because we are being asked to do more. There are budgets that have been either frozen or cut off. We've lost customers. Businesses have closed. But business continues to be done. There's money out there. There's needs out there. People still need products and services. The economy has to and is churning along. And that's why, our conversation today, I'm very grateful for. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your service to our country, which I apologize I didn't say sooner today. But it is a real humbling experience to hear from somebody like you, just really and you've said it a number of times today, Don, and that's really important for me. Everybody has the ability to harness their mindset and to push them so much further than they think they're capable of. So nobody's precluded from that ability. Did I get that right?
I think that was perfect, Tim. And also, right. I think there's a little benefit of having that mindset is not only at a personal level, you're going to get a lot more done, but also those around you. If you're the leader of a business, or you have people under you, or if you have family members who look up to you, it almost is a force multiplier, because that mindset is contagious. And when people look at you thinking, look at that person's attitude, I think so, that lady thinks she can do anything. I mean, that is contagious, and it's really a good contagious mindset to have. So I see that a lot too, especially training young people or training people to do some event. When they see that you will go out and almost do anything, by the time they're done the training course, they're much closer to that point than when they walked into that type of training.
Right.
When they just can be surrounded by people who feel like I can get anything done. It is contagious. And it's really nice to see when it happens to young kids. And because I think that lesson stays with them for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this: as you look over your life, and personally, professionally, and from the sports arena, what is the one event, moment, or experience that you're most proud of?
So the most proud of, I would say, in the big scheme of it all.
I know it's a loaded question.
It started in the 7th grade. I knew at that point that I was going to focus my life toward fitness and something extreme. And I never lost sight of that focus. But the bigger scheme of it is, in doing so, I like to believe that I helped motivate and helped others along the way. so they could get a more fulfilling life. And just because they knew that they could maybe push themselves a lot further than just down here. Because I like to tell people that a lot of people set their goals low and they make it, and they go home and they're happy, and they're not even close to fulfilling their full potential. And
Right.
they'll never reach the top where it's the best they can be.
Right.
So, and I saw this getting out of the teams. I was thinking, oh my God, all these people, they're happy with what they did today. That's it. That's all they do. And they set the goal, they take it, and they go home and they're happy. Why not set them really, really high and use the micro goals to get up to it? Map out your micro. That big macro goal, you're going to be a lot further up than just setting them low and staying down here, because we're all going to die someday, of course, but I don't think the big tragedy of life is death. I think the real tragedy of life can be what can die inside of you if you allow that to happen. There's a lot in here. There's a lot in our heart and a lot in our mindset that we can get out of life as long as we go after it and push it, and don't just sit back and always want to be comfortable. And
so the journey with Don Mann started when you were 7. That is going to be a life of seventh grade. So it started when you're in 7th grade, that you knew you'd have a life of adventure and physical fitness. And wow, looking back at it now, congratulations. I think you've been each and every day fulfilling that journey in one way, shape, or another, for sure.
My parents thought I was nuts. Because I would practice falling down the stairs. They said, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I want to be a stuntman." So it started back then, but I got smarter a little bit over the years.
Well, listen, Don, I want to thank you again for being back on the show. The website again, please. No, my pleasure. For people to follow you and the causes.
The website, my website is www.usfrogman with 2 N's, usfrogmann.com.
Awesome. Well, again, listen, on behalf of the listeners, it was a great conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, Don. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.